Do you ever feel like you are working non-stop, saving every month, but your money just does not seem to grow? It feels like you are pushing a massive boulder up a steep hill, and despite all your effort, it barely moves an inch. This is the story for almost everyone trying to build a retirement portfolio, until the day everything suddenly changes. There is a common belief that if you just save and invest long enough, eventually you will be okay. But what most people do not realize is that wealth building is not a straight line. It is a curve that starts slow, feels frustrating for decades, and then begins to move with a speed that feels almost like magic. If you are in your 50s or 60s and you feel like you are behind, I want you to listen very closely to what I am about to tell you. The frustration you feel is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that you are still in the heavy lifting phase of the journey. Most people throw in the towel right before the momentum kicks in. They stop pushing just as the boulder is about to reach the top of the hill. Today, we are going to look at the 3 critical tipping points that change your relationship with money forever. We are going to explore the cold, hard math of why the second $1 million arrives so much faster than the first. And we are going to look at the specific steps you can take right now to trigger that acceleration in your own life. To understand where we are going, we first have to understand why the beginning is so difficult. The legendary investor Charlie Munger famously said that the first $100,000 is a total nightmare. He was right, and there is a mathematical reason for that. When you are starting with zero, 100% of your growth comes from your own labor. If you put $500 into your account, that balance only goes up because you traded your time for that money. At this stage, your investments are too small to generate meaningful returns. A 10% return on a $1,000 account is only $100. That is not enough to change your life, and it is certainly not enough to get excited about. This is the stage where you are the engine, and your portfolio is just a passenger along for the ride. You might look at the market going up and feel like you are missing out because your small balance does not move the needle. But this is exactly where the foundation of your future freedom is being poured. Without this slow and painful beginning, the explosion of wealth at the end would be impossible. But if you stay consistent and keep feeding the machine, you will eventually hit the first tipping point. The first tipping point occurs when your investment returns in a typical year earn more than the total amount you contribute. This is a massive shift in the financial universe. Imagine you're investing $10,000 a year into your portfolio. Once your account reaches a certain size, a standard market return might generate $12,000 or $15,000 in growth. Suddenly, your money is working harder than you are. The passenger has climbed into the driver's seat and started helping you push that boulder. For many people, this happens somewhere around the $300,000 to $500,000 mark. It is the moment you realize that the snowball you have been packing for years is finally large enough to start rolling on its own. You no longer have to carry the entire weight of your future on your own shoulders. But the real magic happens at the second tipping point. This is the moment when your investments earn as much as your actual job pays you. Think about the psychological impact of that for a second. If you earn $60,000 a year from your career, and your portfolio grows by $60,000 in a single year, you have effectively cloned yourself. You now have a second version of you out there in the world, working silently and efficiently. This second you does not need coffee breaks, does not complain about meetings, and does not need a commute. This is the stage where your wealth stops being a number on a screen and starts becoming true power. It changes the way you look at your boss and the way you look at your future. You are no longer trapped by a paycheck because you have built a machine that produces its own income. At this level, you begin to experience a sense of peace that most people will never know. You realize that even if you stopped working today, your lifestyle would stay exactly the same because your silent partner is picking up the tab. This brings us to the third and final tipping point, which is true financial independence. This is the moment when your portfolio is large enough to support your entire lifestyle through a safe withdrawal rate. For decades, experts have pointed to the 4% rule as a benchmark for a secure retirement. If you can live comfortably on 4% of your total nest egg, you have reached the finish line. At this stage, your money is a self-sustaining ecosystem. You could stop working tomorrow, and your wealth would likely continue to grow even as you spend it. What is truly mind-blowing is how fast the journey moves once you pass these thresholds. Most people spend 20 or even 30 years grinding to reach their first $1 million. They budget, they sacrifice, and they wait. But the jump from $1 million to $2 million often takes less than 8 years. Why does it happen so much faster? Because compounding works on a larger base. 10% of $1 million is $100,000. That $100,000 then earns its own interest the following year. It is a vertical climb that rewards those who had the patience to survive the slow beginning. It is like a fire that starts with a few small sparks and eventually turns into a roaring blaze that feeds itself. However, many people in their 50s and 60s find themselves in a dangerous position. They have a high net worth on paper, but they are what we call house rich and cash poor. They look at the value of their home and feel wealthy, but they forget that you cannot pay for groceries with your kitchen cabinets. Home equity does not produce cash flow, and it does not compound the way a stock portfolio does. If the majority of your wealth is tied up in your primary residence, you are missing out on the acceleration phase. Real estate values typically grow at a much slower rate than a diversified index fund. While a house provides shelter and stability, it is the liquid, investable assets that provide freedom. Many people also struggle with the fear of the stock market because they remember the crashes of the past. They remember the pain of 2008, and they worry that another collapse will wipe them out just as they are ready to retire. But history shows us that the market has survived every single crisis and come out stronger on the other side. The real risk is not the market going down, but your money losing its value to inflation while sitting in a savings account. This is why, as you approach retirement, your focus must shift toward assets that generate income and growth. For the silver saver, the biggest enemy is not the stock market, but lifestyle creep. In your peak earning years, it is tempting to upgrade the car or buy the bigger house. But every dollar you spend on a depreciating asset today is a dollar that cannot join your compounding machine. At age 55, a single dollar is worth so much more than a dollar at age 25 because it is closer to the tipping point. Investing an extra $500 a month in your 50s can have a massive impact because you are feeding a snowball that is already large. It is about making the choice to prioritize your future freedom over temporary status symbols. Think about the careers of the most successful middle-class millionaires. Studies show that engineers and accountants are among the most likely people to reach these milestones. It is not because they have the highest salaries, but because they understand the logic of the numbers. They do not try to time the market, and they do not chase the latest hot tip. They simply stay consistent, keep their costs low, and let time do the work. They treat their savings like a fixed expense, just like a mortgage or a utility bill. This is also the time to look at the power of the Social Security bridge. In the United States, your Social Security benefit increases by approximately 8% for every year you delay claiming past your full retirement age. There is almost no other investment on earth that offers a guaranteed, inflation-adjusted return of 8% per year. By waiting until age 70, you can lock in a monthly check that is 75% higher than if you had claimed at age 62. This acts as a massive insurance policy against the risk of outliving your money. It allows your other investments to stay in the market longer, continuing to double and triple through the power of acceleration. Consider the cost of claiming too early. If you claim at 62, you are permanently locking in a smaller payment for the rest of your life. If you live to be 90, that decision could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost income. Waiting is hard, but the math is undeniable. I want you to think about a teacher who spent 40 years in the classroom. She never had a six-figure salary, but she was disciplined. She spent the first 20 years feeling like she was getting nowhere. But she hit the first $100,000 in her late 40s. By her mid-50s, she hit $500,000. And then the acceleration kicked in. The final 10 years of her career created more wealth than the previous 30 years combined. She retired as a multimillionaire, not because she was a genius, but because she refused to stop when things were boring. She understood that the journey is not about how fast you start, but about how long you stay in the game. She ignored the people who told her she was being too frugal or that she should enjoy her money now. She knew that the greatest joy of all is the feeling of absolute financial security in your later years. If you are feeling discouraged today, remember that the most exciting part of the story happens at the end. The road to wealth starts as a crawl, moves into a walk, and ends with a sprint. You are closer to that sprint than you have ever been. Do not let the headlines or the temporary market dips distract you from the math. The math of compounding is a law of nature, and it is working for you right now, even if you cannot see it yet. Focus on your savings rate and minimize your investment fees. Every 1% you save in fees is another 1% that stays in your compounding engine. Over a 20-year period, a 1% difference in fees can result in tens of thousands of dollars in lost growth. Check your statements and make sure you are not paying for expensive management that does not beat a simple index fund. Stay the course and trust the process that has worked for generations. Your tipping point is coming, and when it hits, all the years of sacrifice will suddenly make sense. Wealth is not just about having a large balance in a bank account. It is about the freedom to decide how you spend your time and who you spend it with. It is about the peace of mind that comes from knowing you are no longer a slave to a paycheck. It is about being able to help your family and support the causes you care about without worrying about your own survival. You have the power to change your financial trajectory starting today. It does not matter where you started, it only matters that you keep moving forward. Take a deep breath and realize that you have the tools to build a future of independence. Stop comparing your middle to someone else's end. Your journey is unique and your progress is real, even if it feels slow. The second million is waiting for you, and it will arrive faster than you ever dreamed possible. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the mechanics of wealth acceleration. If you found this perspective valuable, I invite you to subscribe and stay connected with our community. We are committed to providing the truth about money so you can take back control of your life. Keep your eyes on the long-term goal and do not let the short-term noise pull you off track. Your future self is waiting for you at the top of that hill. Think about the life you want to live 10 years from now. The choices you make today are the only things that will get you there. Keep saving, keep investing, and keep believing in the power of your own journey. I look forward to seeing you in our next exploration of financial freedom. Until then, take care of your family and stay focused on your vision. The path is open, and the destination is worth the effort. Stay strong, stay disciplined, and stay invested. You have everything you need to cross the finish line with confidence. The boulder is heavy, but you are stronger than you think, and very soon it will start rolling on its own.